Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 9 of my Little Big Year, which is a project to see how many birds I can photograph and put in YouTube videos in 2024. It's been about 6 weeks since my last update, so I've actually seen a lot of birds in that time. It is the middle of the summer, so we don't have spring migration going on anymore, but I've still managed to pick up a lot of interesting birds, have a lot of things to show you in this episode. I'm out for a walk right now on my home patch, and what I'm going to do is visit a few different birding areas on my home patch, show them to you, and we'll go through the birds that I've seen in those areas when I get there. Okay, I've almost reached the first area that I'm going to show you. This is a power line cut where the transmission lines run through and the forest has been cut back, and we have sort of an open brushy area. It's a little bit difficult to get to. It's kind of a secret spot because people don't visit it very often. It's a pretty long hike up a narrow path to get here from the parking areas, so it's not visited as often as the other areas, but let me show it to you. I found this to be a really nice spot for birds and for photography. You've got the open brushy area, which attracts a lot of different birds. You also have the forest edges that run along the sides of the power line cut, and birds love to have that kind of cover where they can come out into the open and then jump back into the forest edge. So it's always birdie. There's always something to see up here. And so let's jump right into some of the birds that I have seen. I'm going to start with some really nice footage that I got of an indigo bunting. So we did have indigo bunting on our list from a few episodes back. I had some footage that was pretty distant of the bird. I didn't want to chase them and try to get too close because they were just setting up their breeding territory. But this beautiful male was singing and didn't mind my approach. He actually flew closer to me. It was really great. It's always a cool experience when you get this kind of a close encounter with such a beautiful bird. I really can't get enough of the beautiful blue color of these indigo buntings. I was really happy with this last photograph of the indigo bunting. I think that might be the best photograph I've taken so far this year. So that one's definitely going to go onto my yearly calendar that I make. Another bird that nests in the scrubby habitat that we have up here in the power line cut is prairie warblers. Again, this is a bird we do have on the list already, but it was a fairly distant shot, and I was able to improve it by getting some closer up videos of this beautiful male prairie warbler. Another species that's been regular up in the power line cut this year is orchard orioles. They're breeding up here. There's at least one family unit, maybe two. We've seen as many as 6 different birds up here at one time. This is a male orchard oriole, brick red with the black wings. And here he is interacting with an immature male, which is probably his offspring. The immature males are yellow with a black bib for the first year. This immature male has some streaks of red on his chest. I'm actually not sure if that's his adult feathers coming in or if he's just a messy eater and he's been eating some red berries. It's just hard to tell. Okay, let's move on to some new birds for the Little Big Year list. The next 3 birds are birds that I photographed towards the end of May and early June during the tail end of spring migration, and I was not able to get any video. I was just able to get some photographs, so I was waiting, hoping maybe I would get another shot at it, but at this point it's time to just put them on the list. So the first one is this Canada warbler. It's a beautiful warbler. The pictures are actually not terrible, but he's partially obscured by the branches, so obviously I was hoping to get something a little better in some video, but really not too bad. So Canada warbler is bird number 102 for the Little Big Year list. As a reminder, the target for the end of the year that I've set for myself is 125 species. Okay, next up is this mourning warbler, and this was a really nice find. Mourning warblers are actually quite uncommon in Massachusetts, plus they're skulking warblers that are hard to find. So I heard this one singing along one of the main paths, and I was able to get some very poor shots, I think, of it. It was really difficult viewing conditions. It was a bright sunny day, but the bird was hiding in this very dense shrubbery, so it was like trying to film into a cave. But these photographs are good enough. You can see the bird, and so we're going to count that. I was also able to get some recordings of the bird's song, which I'll play here. Another new bird where I only have just one photograph is this least flycatcher. So this is obviously a poor photograph in terms of technical quality. I wish I could have gotten something better, but I think it's actually a good example of how even a poor photograph can be extremely helpful for ID purposes. So for this least flycatcher, there's a few different field marks that you can see in this photograph, even though the bird is partially blocked. We have a very small bill, we have a complete bold eye ring, and we have a relatively short tail, and I'm comparing it to the other flycatchers that look similar to a least flycatcher. So good enough for an ID. It also helps that the bird was singing, which of course cements the ID for me. Another new bird for the list where I actually do have some decent video is this cedar waxwing. Cedar waxwings are found in a variety of habitats. They'll go anywhere they can find some berries to eat. So I've seen them up here in the power line cut. I've seen them in brushy areas. You can find them all over. A lot of times they're in the treetops, so it was nice to see this one that had come down a little lower to feed. Another species that we see regularly up here at the power line cut is eastern bluebirds. In fact, we normally see them perched on the power lines. I'm still hoping to get some good quality video of these birds, but I did like this interaction between an adult and an immature. Okay, it's time to move on to our next area, which is going to be the community garden. That's about a half-a-mile walk downhill from here. I'll bring you back when we get there. Okay, so we've made our way to the community garden area of Horn Pond, which you can see behind me. It's growing in quite nicely. It's looking pretty lush. If you've seen any of my earlier videos, I have showed this area a few times, and at that point, say in March and April, it was just dirt because at the end of the growing season, they plow everything under to kind of get ready for the next growing season. So you have kind of an open dirt area, which can be okay for certain birds, but then in the summer and fall when everything grows in, this is quite a nice birding spot. In particular, we can get some unusual birds in the fall, so I'm looking forward to that. But we're in July right now, and it's already pretty decent. I've had some nice birds here. So for example, one bird I just got recently is this ruby-throated hummingbird. So he was perched up in some branches in a tree along the edge of the community garden. I saw him there a couple days in a row. The footage isn't great from this vantage point because it's looking up, but you can see him there. And then fortunately, someone here has a hummingbird feeder, and I was able to catch the, I believe, same male hummingbird coming to the feeder and getting some better footage. So that's good enough to put onto the channel life list as well. This killdeer is about to remember that he knows how to fly. Okay, another new bird that I've picked up and was able to film in the community garden area is barn swallow. So these guys have actually been around since May. I've seen them flying around. It's just been very difficult to catch them perched up anywhere. I was first able to catch this adult male barn swallow perched up very briefly. You can see it's a male because of the very long forked tail in the back. A week later or so, I captured a juvenile on this wire here, and the juvenile has a shorter tail, seemed to be maybe resting a little bit more, so it got a little bit easier to film them, I think, when the juveniles came out. A few days after that, back on the original perch where we had the male, had this juvenile, and it was a rainy day, and he was just sitting there not going anywhere, so I was able to get some nice close footage of this barn swallow in the rain. So that makes 3 swallow species for the year here at Horn Pond. We had the tree swallow first, then we got the northern rough-winged swallow, now we have the barn swallow. Okay, so it's time to move on again. Now I'm going to be making my way towards the main pond, the large pond, and on the way we're going to go down a nice path called the Dyke path. The Dyke path runs between a lagoon on one side and a small stream on the other side, and because it has water on both sides and a lot of underbrush, it's actually quite a nice birding area that catches a lot of birds throughout the year, particularly in the spring. One thing you notice birding in the summer is that a lot of the birds are just less active this time of year in the heat. This juvenile chickadee is looking particularly sleepy as he's perched up here with the little insects buzzing around him. And this adult black-crowned night heron is doing his best imitation of a lawn statue. People often feed birds at Horn Pond by leaving seed in various places, such as the handrails of the bridges. This attracts the more common birds like chickadees and cardinals, but once in a while you can get a better bird coming, like this female rose-breasted grosbeak that's taking a chance to chow down on some seed. Okay, so I've reached the main pond, which you can see behind me. That's Horn Pond. This is always worth scanning at any time of year with your binoculars because you can't see all the birds that might be out there with your bare eyes. I scan the pond every single time that I come over here to bird, or even just when I come over here to walk my dog. I always scan the main pond. You never know what you're going to find. There have been some decent birds around here lately. One bird that I picked up right along the edge of the main pond recently is this belted kingfisher. Kingfishers are actually pretty common at Horn Pond because we have all the lagoons and all the water, but they are very skittish birds, so they are hard to get close enough to get good quality pictures and videos. So this video here, I'm going to count it for my little big year. It's not going to be good enough for the channel list. We're going to have to keep trying and get something a little better for that. Another interesting bird that I saw recently is this pied-billed grebe. So they're unusual in summer here. We do see them in early spring and in the fall. This guy may be the same one that's been hanging around all year, but when he gets seen now in the summer, he triggers the eBird filter, so he's a little bit of a rarity. We're all getting very fond of him. If you've seen some of my earlier videos, you may remember the pair of mute swans that had an unusually large brood of 8 cygnets. Well, predation has taken its toll, as we expected, and it's now down to 3 cygnets. This video here is actually about 3 or 4 weeks old. They've been growing quickly, and I believe they're now almost the same size as the parents. It seems like these 3 cygnets here are going to survive to adulthood. So here at the north end of Horn Pond, there's a little grassy area, kind of a little park with some thickets. If I just turn around here, I can kind of show it to you here. This is right next to the street where I park, so this is usually the first place that I check every time I come over here to bird, and it can hold some pretty nice birds. So in fact, a new bird for the year that I picked up here recently is a chipping sparrow, which was singing loudly. I heard it as soon as I got out of my car, chased it around, and had a new bird for the list just in the first few minutes after I arrived about 3 or 4 days ago. Okay, so chipping sparrow brings us up to 109 species for the year for the Little Big Year list. The goal is 125 species, and I think we're doing pretty well. It's mid-July now, so we're just past the halfway point of the year. And fall is a great birding season here at Horn Pond, so I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to keep adding birds at a good pace throughout the rest of the year. If you're enjoying this content, I would ask you to please subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.